Hey, welcome to another video in my comic development playlist. Today we're talking about my old research journal that I made during uni. Here it is. I want to remake it pretty much. So let's go over the old pages and talk about what I want to change. Hey, just jumping in, I totally forgot to even explain what a research journal means in terms of my universe. So in this universe, when teams enter portals, they have a researcher as one of their colleagues. This researcher keeps track of animals, locations, and important data that they come across because, they're on an unknown planet. And the journal that they write in relays its information back to Earth. So pretty much what Sol is doing when he goes to this new planet, he's recording all this data that he comes across on this planet, and all the information gets sent back to Earth. And that's pretty much what his job is as a portal researcher. So this is like the first two pages. Well, I guess you'd say page 0 because these aren't really that relevant. It's just like this book belongs to part, so it looks more like a journal. I also have a picture of the main character's family. I rewrote his siblings to be older, so that just means I'll get to redraw them now. So this is the first two actual pages. The first page is mostly an exposition dump. Yeah, I don't find it really fun to look at. So I definitely want to change up the composition of the page. Firstly, I want to separate all the exposition and pretty much all the paragraphs so it's more manageable and honestly easier to look at. I want it to look more like a prologue, like a chapter 0 of a manhwa. I also want it to look like the character is talking to the reader, like the audience. I want it to be like he's having a conversation with you. So instead of like a third person prologue, it will be like a first person one. And along with the prologue, I'll have little chibis of the main character, like I drew one here and here, and honestly I think they're really cute, so I'll keep the little stickers in there, and it'll be a good way to like show off his feelings if you didn't really catch them in the writing. I do like that he mentioned some of his colleagues in the first page, so here that's his boss pretty much. I don't remember his boss's name, so I guess I'll just make up a new one. So in the remake I'll probably add more notes about his colleagues in the prologue. Maybe? I mean, to be honest, his colleagues aren't really relevant to the story, so I may not add it. But I do like that, you can see that there are other people in his life, so maybe that is a good reason why I'll add it. On a side note, I did write that the story happens in June 2155, but I want to change it to 3155 just so I can push the events of the story more into the future. So, any changes I make to like how Earth looks, it will be a bit more realistic, and it won't be so far-fetched because it's like, oh, that's the future. We will never be alive till then, so I can just do whatever I want. I also like the diagrams of the little robots. I like the one in the middle. His name is Pretzel and it like flies around. It's really cute. They're really cute and I do want to redesign them, so I'll get to go on Pinterest and look at robot designs. Yippee! I did create a new robot who's like heavily in the rewrite, to be honest, so I'll also include like a diagram of her and like how she works as well. Yeah, so this new robot, her name is Andromeda, and I named her after, the galaxy Andromeda. So one of the main important points in this like friggin' 5 billion paragraph writing is that the main character is nervous. And in the rewrite, I did want to include more of his fear of like, being alone on an unknown planet. Like that's terrifying, isn't it? So while developing the story, Sol became a bit of a coward. He's just really easily scared, I'd say. Maybe not full on a coward, more like he's just fearful. He overthinks a lot and he has insecurities about being weaker than his peers. I mean, sure, he literally like physically is weaker than his peers because he has an illness, but it's actually his attitude that like keeps him weak. He doubts himself, he compares himself to others, and he gives up easily. But of course, these are things he needs to learn to control. Anyway, that's the story arc that I kind of want for him. So in the beginning, he needs to be a bit cowardly and scared, right? For this character arc to even happen. And I'll be real, like I am projecting some of my own weaknesses onto the characters, like, so I myself have to learn to stop comparing myself to others and trust in the skills that I've built. But that comes with time. And honestly, through writing my characters, I think I'll be able to grow with them, so that's good. Anyway, I definitely want to have a character arc happen throughout the journal, so I'll keep that in mind while I rewrite the story. So the things I do want to keep from these 2 pages is that first, the main character is nervous. There'll be diagrams of robots. I think the self-portrait is really cute, so I want to keep that in. And there are quick facts about the planet he's going to, so I also want to keep that for the prologue. Things I'd like to change, so I definitely want to change the composition of the page. So I want to change the handwriting to look more like how he would write. You can tell that I wrote this because it's my handwriting. So I might have to find a handwriting font to write everything in, or I might have to hand letter everything. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Okay, so this is page 3 and 4. It's pretty much still about his nervousness, but now it's more about the portal and everything about the portal. So in this universe, when portals open up on Earth, they actually affect the environment they're in. I just think it makes it more realistic and interesting, because then you'll kind of know what's on the other side, and you can make educated guesses about what you're going to be facing. So that's why I made it, so that it actually affects Earth. So the planet that Sol is going to is called G258. The categorization of these portals is pretty simple. The G stands for green because the portal is green. And the 258 just means that 258 of these green portals have opened up since humanity started counting. Green portals are neutral because, the color green is very calming. It is more of a neutral color compared to other colors. And in this universe, green portals mean that the animals and the people in those portals are neutral towards humans. And, I thought green would suit that best. Anyway, in the rewrite, the snow ends up melting after it goes through the portal, so the area around it becomes a wetlands. It turns all muddy and gross, and this excess water ends up supporting the life of some new fungi species. Yeah, wow, epic subtle foreshadowing right there. Well, it's not exactly subtle because, the main character ends up writing it in his journal and says that he wants to look into it when he goes through the portal, so not exactly subtle, but it is foreshadowing. So things I want to keep from these 2 pages. I like how there's paintings about the portal and how it affects Earth, and I like the little chibis of his reactions and feelings. Things I'd like to change is, I want thinner paragraphs and I want more paintings, because that's what I want to look at more myself anyways. Moving on. This is my favorite spread of the whole journal. Pretty much it's just a painting, and I love painting, so that's why it's my favorite. It also looks really good, so yeah. I remember being really proud of this when I finished it. I like the general composition, but I want to change the scale, so I want it to look more grand so that we as a viewer feel smaller. I'm not sure if I have a speed paint of this. I really hope I do. I have to go through the archives, and yeah, let's see. Okay, unfortunately I couldn't find the speed paint for this painting, and also another one later on that I made as well. Oh, so sad. I wish I had the speed paints because I want to see how I made it. This is so sad. When I made this painting, and honestly this whole book, I was using Medibang paint, and I didn't know how to do the time-lapse thing. I didn't know that you have to toggle it on, so I just don't have any speed paints of any of the paintings that I made on Medibang, and that's just really sad. Yeah, so with a remake of a book comes a remake of the painting, so I'm really excited to do that in the future, and we'll see how it goes. Things I want to keep from this 2-page spread. I want to add more details so the world looks more unique, and this area will need to be more smoky now to be more in line with the story. Things I'd like to change, so I'd like to scale it back so the scene looks bigger, and I want the colors to be more muted to match a foggy environment. So next up, page 7 and 8. Wow, look, it's another page full of freaking paragraphs of writing that I don't want to read. Yes, again, there's too much writing and not enough pictures. The animals are pretty basic. This is literally just a reindeer with interesting horns, and then this is literally just a wolf with like funny, no, not funny, cool, with cool markings, but like you can tell this is literally a reindeer and this is a wolf. Like not exactly interesting creature designs. These pages in general need more animal spreads anyway. There needs to be more interesting elements included as well, like hoof shapes, the footprints they leave behind, what their young look like, what they eat, and you know, pretty much just like more details. Here I did draw some like lichen that these reindeers eat, but you know, they look boring and lame, so I want to redo that. The things I want to keep from these 2 pages are, you know, animal-based pages. I want more animals. And things I'd like to change is, you know, I want more animals and I want more about them and their lifestyles, because, you know, that's what the main character is even going for in the first place. So page 9 and 10, I decided to change the timeline of the story. In the original, the snow had already started melting by the time the main character got there. It was pretty much like a week away from spring. So now with the changes, this world is like really deep in winter. I want the reason why the snow even melts in the first place to be because the fire bear woke up. So in the rewrite, all the lakes and rivers are frozen, at least at the surface, which means that the main character can't see these fish underneath the water. They'll basically just be flashes of color underneath ice. So I am going to get rid of the fish, which kind of sucks because I actually like the way they look. They look pretty yummy. So yeah, unfortunately this page pretty much has to go, but it is what it is. I'll have to just add in creatures that I designed instead to replace them. I do like the idea of having fireweed like grow in this planet, but because I changed the timeline, it doesn't make sense for these to be growing here anymore. No! Look how cool they look. So the colors are so nice. Yeah, so these flowers, they are like one of the first plants to grow after a wildfire like happens. I don't know, they just like bounce back really quickly. So like the fact that they even exist would have been really good foreshadowing, and it makes sense in this story in the old version, but in the new one it just doesn't make sense. I'll have to get rid of it. So instead, that means I'll have to make my own plants and design them and decorate the world with cool plants. Wow! So is this really a loss? Not really. So because this plant before was foreshadowing about the bear, maybe I'll make a new plant that has the same role. So maybe this new plant only grows when it's time for Lily to wake up the bear. I'm not sure how the plants would know though, like maybe the air quality changes or something. So the way that plants and people use magic in this world is pretty simple. So mana is like an atom that allows people to use magic. People take in mana from the environment around them and they circulate it through their bodies through mana circuits. Wow. and they make that energy theirs. And with this energy, they use it to power their skills and spells. Maybe when it's closer to the time Lily will wake up, the air quality changes because of her mana. So while she's sleeping, the fire that's around her, pretty much it quietens down. It turns really small, so there's less mana in the air. But when it's closer to the time she's waking up, the fire grows, and therefore her mana grows, and then the quality of the air will change. So maybe through this shift of mana, the plants will know it's time to grow or something. I don't know. This works well enough, but the problem is that Sol wouldn't know this because it's a new planet. Why would he know that? I'm not even sure how I would include it in the journal. Maybe he'll have a note later on in the pages that new plants are popping up that he didn't see before, and maybe he can have a theory that it's because of the air quality. Maybe he can say something like, oh, these plants weren't here before. I noticed that the smoke got denser through the night. Maybe these plants react to the mana in the air, and something simple like that. Yeah, well, that means I will have to design new plants, but I think this idea is good. The things that I want to keep from these pages is that they're plant-based pages. Things I'd like to change is that, I want to make more interesting plants, and no fish because we can't see them in the new timeline. Oh. So this is page 11 and 12, and again, this is pretty word heavy, and honestly, not enough pictures in my opinion. The topic of this page is about isolation and, being alone. I like that it's about his loneliness, but I don't like that it's so direct and it's just a whole page of him being oh, wow, I'm so sad and alone. Want his loneliness to hit in pangs in random paragraphs when he least expects it. I don't want him to just fully discuss it on only one page and then never talk about it again, because I think that's not very realistic, and it wouldn't be as fun to read if it's just one page and then he never talks about it again. It's it never happened, and that's lame. I do like that he talks about his food and how it tastes bland without his friends. Yeah, this character right here, in the writing, it says his name is George, but that's actually Cass. Look how different he used to look. Look at him. Oh my god. I do want to keep a similar hairstyle, but dreads instead. I think it looks cool. Anyway, yeah, so I definitely want to keep in mind that, he feels alone and his food tastes really bland. In the rewrite, the people who go into portals, they can't take a lot of food with them because it would be too heavy. So what they take instead is paste. So they just take tubes of food with them to eat, and that's just so depressing. But it is similar to how astronauts eat in the ISS. I feel so bad for them, they just have to eat paste for 3 months and then come home. Ugh, lame. Anyway, so I do want to include that it tastes boring and bland without his friends, but also it's depressing because it's paste. Yeah. I also really do like this painting, and oh my god, I wish I had the speed paint for this one as well, but I don't, and it's so sad. Yeah, so I'll have to remake this page as well. I really do like it, and it's right outside Lily's den, so you can see the light in the cave, and that's pretty awesome. I don't know if in the rewrite it would make sense for him to paint something like this. I don't know, I guess we'll see. I will see how it goes, but I definitely do want to keep a whole page of just painting because I love painting. So things I want to keep, I want to have a whole page of a painting, and I want to have notes about his food tasting bland without his friends. Things I'd like to change, I don't want to have a specific heading called loneliness and talk about it only on this page, like I said before, because that is lame. Okay, so this is page 13 and 14. This is the most rushed page, I'm gonna be honest. I was really running out of time during uni. Oh, so sad. Yeah, so the animals are pretty basic in these ones as well. This is literally just an owl and this is literally just a frog. Like, yeah, and the backgrounds are really plain as well. Like, you can tell I didn't have time and that this was rushed. Yeah, I also don't like how it's even like set up in the first place, so I definitely do want to change up the composition. I do like this zoom in of the owl and how some of the paint is coming out of the border. I think that's really neat, and I'll probably keep something like that in mind while I paint the new features that I design later on. So things I want to keep the notes about the animals, and things I'd like to change the whole composition of the page and have more interesting creature designs. So this is page 15 and 16. I really like the blurry photo. I think it's really funny, and I definitely want to keep that in the final. I don't know, I just think it's really funny. I also really like that the chibi of him is like really angry. It's like I want to keep that in the final as well. I changed the animal that gets the blurry photo now. It's not Lily anymore because, you know, in the story, Lily's not the only animal that exists anymore. So the animal that will get the blurry images will be this like deer thing that has like fungi growing all on it. I'll tell you more about it when I make a video about the creature redesigns. Yeah, and that will be fun to talk about. EP. So in this page, and honestly some of the earlier pages as well, I mentioned this thing called Wheels. Wheels is the name of the main character's wheelchair. I don't want him to bring it on his mission anymore because honestly, like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into and if a wheelchair would even be useful. So instead of a wheelchair, he's taken a cane with him. And as I was saying before, you know that robot Andromeda that I talked about? She can, you know, shapeshift into a vehicle, and honestly, she can do whatever he wanted to. So that's how I'm going to like get around like the fact that he's not taking a wheelchair with him. He's going to take an epic shape-shifting robot. So like, I don't know, I think that's a creative way to solve that problem. Yeah, I just think it's like way cooler if like you had a robot that just changes into a motorbike for you or something. Like, that's sick. That is just sick. I like the blurry image, and I like that he gets angry and has a little chibi face of him. And things I like to change, I want to replace Wheels with Andromeda. So this is page 17 and 18, and this is page 19 and 20. They're pretty much the same. It's all just messy handwriting. It's all handwritten plot. So I mean, there's not much to look at. This is when Sol ends up finding Lily and her cubs. And, you know, right at the end, he ends up like losing the journal and passing out. Well, in the rewrite, he ends up passing out as well. So honestly, the handwriting is really hard to read. This is my own handwriting and I'm having issues reading it. Like, that is a problem. I might find a handwriting font, like I was saying before, or I'll have to handwrite it again. I don't know about that. Yeah, I'll have to make it so that it's not illegible. I mean, it makes sense because he was like scared right at the end and he was writing really fast, but like, it is like, as a reader, it's nice when you can actually read the words that are on the page, right? So I don't know, I'll need to find some solution for that. So things I want to keep from these 4 pages is, you know, I like the messy handwriting. Things I'd like to change is I want to add more pictures somehow. I don't know how I'll do it, but I will add more pictures. That's pretty much the end of the book. You can see it's like literally stuck to the back paper. That's what I made during uni. I ended up actually submitting this book along with like a presentation because, you know, all my assignments had a presentation part to it. And sometimes I wonder, like, if I made it by hand, would it look better? If I made it in a sketchbook like this, would it have looked better? Probably. But I definitely didn't have time to do that. If I had to paint this with acrylic, I actually don't even know how long it would have taken because first of all, I don't know how to paint in acrylic that well, to be honest. And second, because I'm so well versed in digital art, I made this in about like 3 hours, which is crazy. That's actually fast for me. Yeah, I mean, obviously the approaching deadline made me work faster, but you know, I definitely would have had to take at least 10 hours to make a acrylic version of this. So while a actual like handmade book with like actual gouache and acrylic would have looked better. I just know I didn't have time for all that because I also had other assignments to do, so yeah, it would have looked better, but I love digital art. So yeah, I also downloaded these new like oil paint brushes on Clip Studio, so I really like them. So I think I'll be able to like make the texture and stuff that I need. Yeah, so I guess the remake will still be digital, but I don't know, that's my forte, so I guess it's fine, right? Thanks for watching. This is like a that was a lot of stuff to talk about. I hope you enjoyed, and the next video I'll actually be talking about the creature features that I made. So thanks for watching. In the next video I'll be talking about how I designed some new creatures because I have some new ones to show off. I found this creature design generator thing online, and it's actually been really useful because it comes up with a lot of different categories for like designing the creature, and I thought it was really useful. And yeah, so that's how I based all of my new creature designs. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I wish you the best, and I'll see you in another video.